Prime Time Local News, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
Hello and welcome to Primetime Local News. My name is Jackson Fontaine and thank you for joining me. Residents in recovery spent their 2024 jam-packed as always with their staple Recovery Week on top of more workshops. Callan Dunlop sat down with the executive director of the nonprofit to learn more.
Today I'm joined by Tyler Lorenz with Residents in Recovery, Executive Director of Residents in Recovery. Thank you so much for coming down to the station today.
Thanks for having me again.
And today we are here to recap the year 2024 in review, and to start, Residents in Recovery did so much over the year. I want to start with the Summer Scramble Charity Golf Tournament. Yeah. You guys did so much over the summer. Can you talk a little bit about what you guys were doing?
Sure. So our Summer Scramble for Mental Health and Addictions is our big fundraiser of the year. I think this year, we made just over $25,000 from that golf tournament. So it's a big job to plan a golf tournament. We actually are starting right after Christmas here. We'll start planning again for the 6th or 5th annual. I guess it'll be our 5th annual one that we'll have on June 19th this year.
And then what were those proceeds going towards?
So those go towards general operations. So we only receive just over 9% of our operational funding from the government. So we have to raise a lot of money for anything to do with sober living and our family treatment programs as well. Our family treatment program is fee for service, but it certainly doesn't cover all of our expenses, even close. So,
on top of fundraising events, you guys also held a number of workshops over the year. There was specifically the naloxone one and the Addictions in the Workplace workshop. Can you talk a little bit about what transpired during these workshops and what they accomplished?
Yeah, so earlier in the year, it was identified that a lot of workplaces weren't trained on naloxone. It typically hasn't been a part of first aid training. So Tigra Lee and myself did a number of these workshops in cooperation with the Wood Region Health Foundation, and they went over really well. And then we also did it again for Recovery Week on the Tuesday. We did the naloxone presentation again then, as well as we had Addiction in the Workplace workshop over Recovery Week with John from Assure, and then we also did Addiction in the Family with Thorpe. Yeah.
And then you mentioned it there, but Recovery Week was also another mainstay for Residents in Recovery. Every year, you guys are always doing something for Recovery Week. So can you talk a little bit about this year's Recovery Week and what happened?
Yeah, so we started with the crosses along 16th Ave again on International Overdose Awareness Day, which is August 31st every year. And then we rolled right into Recovery Week. We had a few events, like I mentioned, during the week. And then it ended off with Recovery Day at the Pocket Park over by the old furniture gallery. This year we had the biggest one we've had yet. We've had probably over 350 people attend, and it was just a great day. Yeah, talking about recovery.
That is great to hear. So many good things that Residents in Recovery was able to do over the duration of the year. I wanted to talk a little bit about yourself specifically. A new role for you later into the end of this year with the Lloyd Working Housing Group. Can you talk a little bit about your role with this new group in the city and what you guys are trying to do?
Yeah, so the housing working group actually started in the summer. I think July was our first meeting, and it's a working group that came out of the social policy framework work that was done with BASA last year and the year before. So it's really focused on really addressing housing issues all across the entire spectrum, right from the emergency shelter piece right to homes for sale, luxury homes for sale in Lloydminster, and making sure that you know, if somebody wants to be housed, they have the opportunity to do so. And right now in this city, housing is without a doubt one of our biggest issues. There's very limited capacity across the whole spectrum, right from emergency shelter beds, and I understand there's very limited availability for market housing in Lloydminster right now as well. So housing is 100% a major concern for pretty much anybody in Lloydminster. So this working group, which includes a number of people, agencies, you know, in that field, you know, really to look at this and see if there's things that we can do with a, you know, made in Lloydminster solution to address the issues.
It's a great cause for the Lloydminster community to be a part of. I'd like to, lastly, just kind of discuss residents in recovery as we enter 2025. What are some of the things on the agenda for you guys as we enter this new year?
Yeah, I mean, all of the events, we're planning on doing them all again this year. So our focus, you know, since, you know, January of 2024 has really been a shift towards family treatment. We do still have limited sober living in the community. Certainly not what the demand needs, but it's what we are able to offer at this point. So our focus is going to continue to be on family treatment and you know, really supporting mothers as they want to come out of addiction and get their lives back on track with their children. So, yeah.
Perfect. That really covers all of the questions that I had for you today. I want to thank you again for coming down to the station to recap the year with me.
Great. Thanks, Colin.
I'm now joined alongside Lane Hoffert. So Lane, we're going to take a look at what the weather's going to be looking like for the weekend, so just take it away.
Yeah, it's definitely colder, especially today. You know, cold already, but especially you add that wind in there and it makes it even colder. Minus 24 right now in Lloydminster. 9-kilometer-an-hour winds blowing southeast, making it feel a little bit closer to minus 32. So definitely not a day where you want to be going outside to do anything more than maybe just walking to your car. Not one of the nicer days out. And you can see it's about the same all over the region. Everywhere's kind of having a cold day. Bonnyville, St. Paul, Marwayne, Vermilion, and Provost all minus 26. Lac La Biche minus 22. Edmonton a little bit warmer at minus 19, but again that wind. Vegreville minus 27, as well as Wainwright, and Cold Lake is minus 25. Taking a look over in Saskatchewan, once again the same story. Isle La Crosse, Pierceland, and St. Walburg, as well as North Battleford minus 27. Green Lake minus 26 with Maidstone, Macklin minus 28, and Meadow Lake minus 30. So definitely cold days all over both provinces. Tonight, North Battleford, it's going to be minus 29. It's going to be a very cold night, bitterly cold. That 24-kilometer-an-hour wind is sure to make it feel even colder if that's even possible. Mainly clear in the evening and then slowly becoming more overcast. Tomorrow, North Battleford, it's not going to warm up that greatly. It's going to be minus 22. It's going to be kind of a cloudy day, 32-kilometer-an-hour winds. So that's sure to make that minus 22 once again feel even colder. I sound like a broken record, all this wind and cold weather. In Cold Lake, minus 29, partly cloudy, very cold in Cold Lake, and 11-kilometer-hour winds. Now taking a look at Cold Lake tomorrow, it's going to be minus 19, mostly cloudy, and once again, a very cold and windy day in Cold Lake, just like it is all over Alberta and Saskatchewan. Tonight, Lloydminster, it's going to be down to minus 28, very cold with increasing clouds. That wind will still be blowing strong at 15 kilometers an hour, sure to make it feel, you know, somewhere in those mid-30s, mid-minus 30s, of course. Temperature-wise. Now taking a look at tomorrow's forecast at 6 a.m., it will be cloudy, minus 27. Those clouds are going to persist throughout the whole day, as well as that wind. It's going to be minus 23 at noon, minus 22 at 6 p.m., and minus 21 at midnight. So we'll slowly warm up, but not that greatly, and that wind is sure to kind of hamper the effects of that warm weather. Now taking a look at your weekend forecast here. Saturday will be very cold, breezy in the morning, minus 20 is the high and minus 22 is the low. On Sunday, very cold with low clouds with minus 18 as the high and minus 24 as the low. And Monday will be cold with a thick cloud cover, minus 15 as the high and minus 17 as the low. So a cold, cloudy, and sure to be windy weekend here in the border city. That is your first look at the weather. We'll be back with more news after the break.
Pets Purpose Animal Shelter Society has had a successful 2024 through their foster program and continue to ensure each dog in their care finds their forever home. Abby St. John has more.
I'm very happy to be joined here today by Janie Dick. She's the Secretary of Pets Purpose Animal Shelter Society. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Now, today we're going to be talking about the year as a whole, 2024. Now, back in the fall or near the end of 2023 is when you guys got accredited as a nonprofit.
Yes.
And so now going into 2024 with that accreditation on your belt, tell me about how the year went and how that accreditation has helped you guys as an organization.
Well, the nonprofit was the first step, but it took us a little longer to get our charitable status in Canada, and that's a huge thing for us because it means that people who donate can receive a tax receipt, and that enhances our ability to raise money, which in turn enhances our ability to rescue dogs, even ones that don't necessarily behave themselves. We got our charitable status in early in 24, and actually the very first litter that we saved were all foster fails to members of our board. 3 pups.
Which in the end isn't much of a failure because they did end up finding their forever home. But yes, that's a fantastic way to start rescuing.
We've been just blown away by how supportive the community has been of us. Like we're still very new, we're still not terribly well known, but we have received so much support in terms of fundraisers to help us pay our vet bills, in terms of fosters. We do all of our work through fosters. We don't have a facility, and and we have about 15 foster families right now, and thanks to them we've been able to save more than 40 dogs.
Which is amazing.
It's amazing in less than a year. We've actually rescued 49 dogs and we've adopted out 42. 3 we've transferred to other rescues who could take them, and right at the moment we still have 4 dogs that are available for adoption. And as I say, the more fosters we have, the more dogs we can save. So
Absolutely.
We're always looking for fosters, and I would encourage anyone who might want to know about fostering to go to our Facebook page, Pets Purpose Facebook page, because all the applications and information is there to help you find out. But
that is amazing, and we might as well introduce our second guest, as he's itching to kind of share his story. Now, for those who may not recognize, this is Broody. He was on our show I think at the beginning of this year, to kind of introduce you guys and get the word out about you. So tell me a little bit about Broody. He is one of your failed fosters, as you did end up adopting him. But tell me about his journey and with you guys and how it started and where he is today. He is a bit of a mischievous little guy.
Well, he's not very well behaved. I haven't done a proper job of training him. He's still a baby.
He's still adorable with those big brown eyes. I wouldn't be able to say no to him ever.
He and his litter mates were found in a ditch, abandoned. They were close to a garbage dump, and that's how they were surviving, was living on the garbage. And we ended up, one of our members took the 3 of them in. We split them up between 3 board members. And every time I went out of the house to an adoption event, my husband said, you know, we can make 3 dogs work. And then finally, he did actually go to another foster, but it wasn't really suitable because he's, as you can see, a fairly good-sized boy.
Yes.
And she lived in an apartment, so it you know, wasn't the best. And so he came back to us, and Gerald said, that's it. He's ours.
Oh, well, it obviously was meant to be, and it worked out. But
Yes, and all 3 of them, you know, have, you know, I think they're doing okay.
Yes, for sure. And that's amazing, especially starting out your first litter that you guys rescued. You were able, whether it was you guys or someone else, you guys were able to find their forever home, which is the purpose of you guys, and that it is a great success story. Now, for 2025, we're getting into the next year. Are there any plans or anything that people should look out for in regards to you guys?
Nothing specific. We will be doing, Rudy, down. He is a work in progress. We will be doing adoption events. We will be doing fundraisers. We've received incredible support in terms of fundraising from the community and from supporters. And just more of the same. We do not yet have a facility, so we are hopefully going to find a facility, but we are determined to be completely transparent. Our financial records were available at the AGM in October. We prepay our vet bills. We want to have sufficient funds in place to handle at least a year's worth of expenses connected with the facility, and that means rent, utilities, all that, everything that goes with it. And of course, we still have the expenses of fostering, because our fosters don't pay for anything. They provide the time and the love and the training, and I didn't do a very good job with this one. And we provide everything they need, whether it's, you know, from food to vet expenses to pee pads and toys, you know, everything. And that being the case, you know, we have to continue to raise money so that we're in a position to do that.
As obviously you guys have been doing a fantastic job at that, just going off of the numbers of the adoptions and the rescues. So thank you so much for joining me today. And Broody, thank you so much as well. It was great speaking with you, and I look forward to hearing more about what you have planned for the new year in 2025. And I know we'll be talking with you again about those. So thank you again for joining me, and Happy New Year.
Thank you, and the same to you.
Now here are your closing market numbers for today.
Today's oil prices are brought to you by First General Services.
The growing season for Alberta was less than ideal once again this year. So the Ministry of Agriculture and Irrigation for Alberta had their hands full, but delivered with multiple programs to help out both livestock and crop producers. Our Thomas Wildman has more.
Today I'm joined by the Minister of Agriculture and Irrigation for Alberta, RJ Sigurdsson. He's here to talk about what the Ministry of Agriculture did this year, and so thank you so much for being with me today, RJ.
Great to be here with you, Thomas.
And Minister, how was this year for the Ministry of Agriculture?
2 of the 3 previous years being drought years, our focus this year was around ensuring that we had strong business risk management programs that our farmers and ranchers always rely on year over year, that AFSC delivers. With that, you know, it started off really good in the spring. We had a lot of good moisture that came at the right time. Unfortunately, we didn't see some of the moisture that we'd like to see into July, and some heat across the province that, of course, affected some of the crops. That wasn't ideal. The province overall came in around average, which, considering the previous years, was, you know, better than better than it could have been is really what we've said to a lot of our farmers and ranchers. But of course, you always want to hope for more. But definitely, it was an average season. Of course, some of the areas of the province weren't and didn't do as well as others. But that's why we always focus on continued strategies on expanding irrigation options for more water storage across the province. Our government in our last budget allocated an additional $5 million to feasibility studies to take a look at what areas in the province that we can store more water to be able to expand irrigation, understanding how important it is to be able to get us through those drought years. But of course, we just continue to work with our farmers and ranchers, build out that critical infrastructure, and make sure that we've got strong business risk management programs there, like crop insurance, agri insurance, to be able to aid our farmers if they saw production losses, as they do sometimes in the year.
And Minister, could you tell me a little bit about some of the new infrastructure that you guys brought in for 2024?
Well, of course, we increased the funding to our irrigation rehabilitation program with our irrigation districts, which is critical for them to continue to maintain and upgrade their irrigation infrastructure, but as well the irrigation modernization project, the $933 million that was announced by the previous minister, Minister Horner. That is still an ongoing project. We're seeing huge gains from that. Switching from open canals to closed piping systems has allowed a lot of our irrigation districts to irrigate much more land within their current allocations, which speaks to efficiency, which is going to be critical in the future. And we're seeing a lot of benefits through programs like that, as well as our SCAP programs, like our on-farm efficiency programs, that are aiding our farmers and ranchers, especially in our irrigation districts.
And how did your department deal with the railway strikes that took place this summer? And how does your department continue to plan on helping out producers in times of need?
Well, definitely, we've heard it from a lot of our trading partners that the labor disruptions that have affected the supply chain are a deep concern. And this is a conversation that we have ongoing with our federal counterparts to look at ways that we can manage labor disruptions better in the future, be more proactive to avoid actual supply chain disruptions. Personally, myself as the Minister of Agriculture here in the province, I think agricultural products as a whole, being the fact that they are essential, should be exempt to any labor disruptions. But we continue to have ongoing conversations with our federal counterparts. Hopefully in the future, they are more proactive and get involved at an earlier stage to avoid having labor disruptions that equate into strikes and or work stoppages that affect the flow of essential agricultural goods and commodities, because it is having an impact. Our global trading partners, their food security is important, and we have to make sure that the flow of those agricultural products aren't impacted by those disruptions.
And what are the plans for the Ministry of Agriculture for 2025?
Well, our strategy is going to be continued focus on expanding irrigation, understanding how it can increase production and its importance in drought years. I think it's critical that as a government, when we have seen the impacts of drought years just recently, that we don't lose focus on planning for the next drought and making sure that we are investing in the right areas on reservoirs with it and all the other modernization and technology that we can utilize to better prepare us for the next drought. Of course, my focus will be, as always, to make sure that our business risk management programs that our farmers and ranchers rely on in those times of drought and production loss are there and available and affordable for our farmers and ranchers to make sure that they can stay whole through those tough years. Of course, overall, the one thing that I've been having conversations more and more on as a minister here in the province of Alberta is working on our federal counterparts to make sure that they're not implementing or regulating or establishing legislation or policies that continue to erode the profitability of our farmers away. We have to make sure that our farmers and ranchers are profitable. When they are, they invest in new innovations and technologies that advance them into more sustainable farming practices. So I really have been trying to work and collaborate with our federal counterparts to make sure that they understand that some of the regulations that have been put in place by the federal government are not working in the best interest of our farmers and ranchers. We have to always make sure that we're there working with them hand in hand. I've always said it's better to lead with a carrot than rule with a stick. Our government is focused on doing exactly that. We want to create programs that allow our farmers and ranchers to shorten the capital gap for investment in new technologies and investments. And we want to make sure that we're working with them to ensure that they are profitable on the global stage.
Thank you so much for all the information today, Minister, and hopefully we can see a little bit more moisture for the 2025 year to help out producers across the province.
Absolutely. That is the one thing that I do very often is pray for the right conditions for our farmers and ranchers. Hopefully we get a good snowpack this winter and we move into some favorable spring and summer conditions next year. I know our farmers could really use a bumper crop here real soon to aid them to get into a better financial position, considering some of the strain they've seen over the past couple of years.
Now here are your agriculture prices for today. The LCHS Barons football team was in its second season of the Northern Saskatchewan Football League. 2024 was also the first year of the Junior Barons football team. Our Thomas Waldman has more on both these great teams.
Today I'm joined by Kieran Link, the head coach of the LCHS Barons football team. He's here today to tell us about that Barons team, as well as the Junior Barons team that also operates out of the Composite High School. And so thank you so much for joining me today, Kieran, and having us out for a few practices this year for football.
Thanks for having me here.
All right, Kieran, so this is the second year of you guys being in that new Saskatchewan League. Tell me a little bit about that league for those who haven't heard of it, and how it was in the sophomore season for that league with you and all those PA and Martensville's teams.
So the North Saskatchewan Football League has us, two Prince Albert teams, Martensville and North Battleford in it. This year we narrowly missed playoffs. We had a heartbreaking loss against St. Mary's to not go into the playoffs. Prince Albert Carleton, the team who won, actually went on to win 5A provincials this year. So we're in a really competitive league. This year was a year of growth and development, and we're looking forward to next year where we have a bunch of young guys coming up through our junior football program.
And so let's talk a little bit more about your guys' season this year. What were some of the things that you really liked for your team in this second season and being in a bit of a different league, and some of your veterans and how they adjusted, as well as some of your new players who are coming up for next season and what you're really looking forward to with that?
I think one of the strengths was the player development in the last year and a half, 2 years. When you're playing really good teams week in and week out, you as a player have to be prepared for that physically and mentally. And as a coaching staff, we have to be prepared for that. So I think we did a good job of developing these players. I think we're going to have some players that are going to go on to play at the next level. I think we've been doing a pretty good job of developing our grade 10s, our younger players who are inexperienced, getting them to play at a highly competitive level pretty quickly. So it's a competitive league, but I think that's good for our program to compete against the best. And to be the best, you have to play against the best.
And of course, winning is very important for high school football, but you mentioned having some players go on to the next level. So how important is that for you as a coach, and how proud are you of those players that get developed and then get to go on to post-secondary football and get to continue to play the sport that they love and play for other programs and really help them out as well?
Right, and so obviously, every coach wants to win, and that's an important thing, and we want to establish a winning culture and tradition. We have a great tradition at the high school. Barons football has a storied program and a storied tradition, and we want to continue with that. As a coach, it's incredibly important for us to be able to churn players out who can play at the next level. I think that we can complement some of the position coaches like Cole Bloxham has developed Julian Tepper into a really good football player, and we'll see how many others sign in the future. But I think it just goes to show that if you come to the comp and play with our program, we have competent, capable coaches who can get you to the next level, and we're proud to hang our hat on that. We had Garrett Hatchard, who was playing in the Canada West final where they narrowly lost to Laval, and someone who coached him and has been part of the program for a while. We're quite proud of that.
And so, as well as being the head coach of the senior program, you also consulted a little bit with that junior Barons program. Tell me a little bit about that program and kind of how they turned out and what you've been doing with them.
Yeah, so that's a really exciting opportunity. So it's a grade 8 and 9 team that's operating out of the comp. It's open to people within the community and surrounding communities. This was our first year. We're really excited about the growth and development of the junior program. I think it's going to act as a feeder program to help out with our senior team in the future, and we'll have students who are with more experience, year in, year out. And so when they come in grade 10, they'll have played a couple of years within our system. We play in the Saskatoon Kinsman Football League. We were highly competitive. We were 3-4. We were right there in a couple games. I think we, had I think a couple of things gone a different way, we may have had a couple more wins. The top 4 teams are really good in Saskatoon. Clavette had a really good program. A couple of the Saskatoons had really good programs, really good athletes. So that's fun for our guys to get a taste of really competitive football, and it's a good litmus test to see where our program is, and we want to use that as a feeder for the senior team.
All right, and so finally we'll talk about coming up for this summer and when you guys are doing your ID camps and getting spring training started. Tell me a little bit about some of those players that you're really excited about and getting back into the swing of things once summer comes around, as well as maybe some of those junior Barons that maybe are going to make the step up into grade 10 and going to be part of the program for the senior team.
For sure. So we're going to have a more comprehensive and systematic off-season lifting program. We're partnering up with Grid Athletics to come and do about a 3-month program for our players, and so we're excited about those opportunities. In terms of some of the graduating players, Mason Byford, I think Julian Tepper, Caden Malikoff, I think they may be looking at the next level. I know Julian's had a few offers. From the grade 10 program, our rookie of the year was Colby Hines. He's a big physical guy. We're looking forward to the growth that he makes. Our most outstanding offensive player this year was Carson Kirchhoff. He's a multi-sport athlete. He's a pretty outstanding athlete, and we're looking forward to what he can bring. And then I'm most excited about some of the grade 9s that are coming up. We've got a strong cohort of grade 9s. Joseph Kelly, who was the grade 9 quarterback, will be coming up. He's a football guy. He's quite talented. He's got the frame. I'm excited to see his development over the next 3 years. Mason Lockyer, a massive offensive lineman. That's where we want to build the teams around, is the O-line. Jackson Haxenson, a defensive lineman as well. So we're excited for the future. We've got some guys coming up, and it's our job as coaches to get them ready to rock and roll for high school football, because it is a jump.
Awesome. Well, I'm very excited to see the team coming up this spring and into the summer and fall months when the season begins again. And so thank you so much, Kieran, for coming in today and for having us at some of your practices and games. And we will definitely have more Barons coverage coming up in the new year.
We'll have more primetime local news after the break. The Lloydminster Rescue Squad is involved in many rescues around Lloydminster and are always looking to keep people safe. I spoke with the chief of the squad to see how 2024 went and their goals for 2025. I'm happy to be joined here today with the chief of the Lloydminster Rescue Squad, Norm Namir, for our year-end interview. Norm, thanks for joining me.
Well, thanks for having us, Jackson. Appreciate it.
Awesome. So before we kind of get into what we're going to be talking about, why don't you just tell me about how 2024 went for you?
Well, that's a loaded question. 2024, it's always an exciting year again, a busy year in terms of call volume. Not so much on the boat side. We had about 2 or 3 calls on the boat side this year, which we're able to utilize our both boats. And then the call volume, we did about 45 rescue calls this year, and that includes deer strikes, animal strikes, and that sort of thing, rollovers and collisions of that sort. So it's been excuse me, an interesting year. Again, we're looking forward to 2025 again, and this year's call volume pretty well matches again of last year's, so we're right in the the same kind of call volume as it was last year.
And Norm, what would you say were some of the highlights of 2024 for you and the squad?
Well, I think one of the exciting highlights for me, and I know our group, has been the 2024 Gala, our Sapphires and Sirens Gala. We changed a few things up, and we just had a great amount of people come. It's been good. We've had the sponsorship was great again this year. In fact, so good that next year we've already got 3-4 sponsors already lined up. So we're excited about that. The band was awesome. We had a really great band, so which engaged the crowd pretty good, and there were some characters out there dancing a storm, so that was lots of fun. So
yeah, you were kind of leading up to my next question
Oh.
there. Your Sirens and Sapphires Gala event that you guys had in October.
Yes.
So for anyone who doesn't really know what that is, could you just explain what it is and how you felt it went this year?
Well, what it is, it's one of our major fundraisers for the year, and that includes fundraising for new equipment, some of the specialty equipment that we have. For example, last year I think was the underwater ROV, and the year before that we had the towfish, and we have some major sponsors that always contribute to that. The Synovus and Boundary Ford they've been just an asset to our not only to us but to the rest of the community, because this equipment not only it works in the area, our area, but it can go from any province and anywhere. So it's such a valuable piece of equipment.
So I heard you guys did get new equipment this year. So could you just talk to me a little bit about that?
Yes, and I'm not that technical, but I've used it. So Synovus had made a donation this year. It's going to be going to virtual reality. So with our Deputy Chief Ryan and Synovus and the organization that we had purchased it, the reality equipment from, next year we started beginning just to set up the room with the TV and whatever else we need to go in there to actually be prepared for virtual reality. And the neat thing about that is they've come down and videoed some of the equipment in our truck and some of the equipment, how to operate it. So for example, I use the generator or our light tower comes up on the truck. There's a sequence you've got to use. So they've set it up so that you hook up, you put on your gloves, put on your virtual reality goggles, and you actually go and start the unit up and go through the process of making the tower go up, turn, come down, light up, which gives us that opportunity that we can get now any new members that come on board. We can get them into this room. They can set up the goggles. Once we get them set up, they can go through that process until they get it right.
Now kind of moving forward to the rescues, what were some big rescues that you guys were involved in this year?
Well, this year we've had some motor vehicle collisions that resulted in loss of life, which is always a tragedy. And I think we had 3 this year. And I think my comment with that is we just need to understand that people need to slow down and just pay attention. And I think we can kind of maybe hopefully we can avert some of those tragedies, because it's something that we do every year. And afterwards we always try and do a debrief, because it is traumatic even for our members. So we make sure we follow them for at least a week or so, and just keep on questioning and making sure that they're fine.
And final question I have for you, Norm, what are your goals and expectations for 2025 for the squad?
That's a good question. So I think one of our goals, we always try and improve on safety, and one of our goals this year is to purchase a 2024 whatever vehicle. We're looking at a vehicle at Boundary Ford to pull our boat. So we're looking at a 250, 350 kind of Super Duty truck. So we can pull the big boat, we can pull the airboat, and its primary use is going to be traffic control. So we're going to try and set it up with some of the advanced traffic control equipment that we can find out there. We have some ideas. So that's going to give us a little better coverage too when we're out on traffic control. The individual doing traffic can be right by the truck and seek shelter in there. If it's a cold day or if it's rainy out or something like that, you can go in and out of the vehicle. The other one we're looking at, so that's number one goal, and so we're going to start fundraising for that. The second one is to look at some different equipment, which is the spreader or the Jaws of Life, cutters, and possibly a ram. And those will all be that 60 volt, so we don't have to worry about hose reels, hydraulic pressure, starting an engine, gas, oil, the whole 9 yards. So we're going to be looking at that, and I think this year that's going to be one of our big goals also, is to get equipment that's a lot more versatile and portable. You can carry it from here to there. You don't have to worry about hoses and fuel. So we're excited about that, and I think those are our two main things. The other big thing is looking at training, continue our training. Training is a big part of our group. Continual training for the airboat, for the our Kingfisher, the sonar, the electronic equipment, the towfish, the underwater camera, or the underwater ROV. So it's quite extensive, and you've got to be a little technical. And I think they're trying to push me out a little on the technical side. But no, there's some young people on our squad that are quite technical and have a good understanding of the technical abilities that this equipment has. So again, the training too is going to be a big part of our course for 2025.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to hearing more from the Lloydminster Rescue Squad, and wish you guys nothing but the best for 2025.
Well, thank you very much for having us, Jackson, and appreciate it, and Merry Christmas.
Coming up after the break, we'll have an extended look at the weather.
Hello and welcome back. Let's take a second look at your evening weather forecast here in the border city. Minus 24 right now, but that wind is blowing 9 kilometers an hour, making it feel a little bit closer to minus 32. So definitely a colder day here in Lloydminster. Not the greatest day if you're going to go for a walk or something. Maybe wait till it warms up a bit. It's very cold outside. Make sure you're wearing your coat and a toque and everything. You can see all around central Alberta, it's about the same. Athabasca minus 28, Cold Lake minus 23, Whitecourt minus 24, Edson minus 20, Edmonton minus 19, Jasper minus 14, and Red Deer minus 18. Over in Saskatchewan, a little bit cooler. Meadow Lake minus 30, North Battleford minus 27, Melfort minus 28, Prince Albert minus 24, and Saskatoon minus 25. Moving up north, even colder, Uranium City minus 28, Stony Rapids at minus 35, Wollaston Lake and South End Reindeer minus 31, Flin Flon, Buffalo Narrows, and the Losh at minus 25. High Level minus 25, Fort Chipewyan minus 26, Fort McMurray minus 25, Peace River minus 21, Slave Lake minus 22, and Grand Prairie minus 29. A little bit warmer in the southern corner of Alberta. Banff and Lethbridge minus 12, Calgary minus 17, Medicine Hat minus 16. A little bit cooler in Coronation minus 26, Kindersley minus 28, Yorkton minus 24, Swift Current and Moose Jaw both minus 25, as well as Estevan and Regina is minus 26. Tonight in North Battleford, it's going to be minus 29. That 24 kilometer an hour wind sure to make it feel even colder, if you can believe that. Our lovely windy prairie weather will also be seen in Cold Lake tonight, minus 29, partly cloudy and very cold. Again, with that crazy wind. Tonight, Lloydminster, it's going to be down to minus 28, very cold with increasing clouds. And once again, very windy. So wind all over both sides of the border and cold temperatures as it is. Definitely a cold stretch to start out 2025 here. Now taking a look at some more temperatures from around the region. Meadow Lake and Isle Cross are both minus 31. Bonnyville and Paradise Hill minus 29, Provost minus 27, and partly cloudy temperatures and relatively windy as well. Myrna minus 27, Pierceland, Unity, and Wainwright minus 29, and Calgary, the warmest of the bunch there, at minus 17, with some snow, and everywhere else very cloudy, very cold, and very windy. Once again, it's blowing all over the prairies. Now taking a look at your 7-day forecast. Tomorrow will be very cold and breezy in the morning with a high of minus 20 and a low of minus 22. Sunday will be very cold with low clouds with a high of -18 and that low -24. Monday is when it starts to warm up, and then the week will actually turn out to be a bit of a warmer week here in the border city.
Awesome. Well, it kind of looks like we have a rough start to 2025, but it's going to kind of warm up next week at some point, so it's looking good.
Definitely.
Awesome. But that is all the time we have today for Primetime Local News. Thank you for watching, and have a great weekend.